Which zodiac signs should never have pets? There are people who are categorically contraindicated to have pets, not because they are bad, but because their energy, internal rhythms and astral tasks are in deep conflict with the nature of pets. Some zodiac signs unconsciously transfer their anxiety, chaos or internal conflicts to those around them, and especially to defenseless creatures. As a result, the animal may get sick, yearn or even withdraw, and the person himself may feel tired and emotionally exhausted. Today you will find out which zodiac signs are most often unprepared for communication with animals on a deep, spiritual level. This is not just a psychological factor, this is ancient knowledge about energy incompatibility. If you are close to esotericism and you want not only to understand others, but also to know your strengths and weaknesses, subscribe to the channel. Here I reveal the truth that is silent in popular horoscopes. Write in the comments, do you agree with this analysis, and did you have experience with pets that explained a lot? We are starting. The first sign is Gemini. Geminis often make decisions on impulse rather than on stable intention. This is why the issue of getting a pet requires special attention. A pet is a routine, affection, obligations, and it is in these aspects that Geminis face insurmountable difficulties. Their life rhythm is chaotic. Today they live in one city, tomorrow in another. Today they are in love, tomorrow they are carried away by a new idea. With such instability, the animal becomes a hostage to the situation. Geminis easily catch fire. Seeing a cute puppy or kitten, they are able to make a decision right away, without thinking about the long-term consequences. However, after a month, they lose interest, switching to new hobbies, and the pet remains with the same set of needs that no one has cancelled. The inconstancy of Geminis leads to the fact that the animal becomes a burden for them. It is difficult for them to keep to a schedule, feed, walk, and undergo examinations on time. All this is irritating, because it requires routine and self-discipline, and this is what they always have problems with. In addition, Geminis are emotionally unstable. Today they can be gentle and caring, and tomorrow, detached and irritated. The animal acutely feels mood swings, and the constant fluctuation of energy in the house makes it anxious. Geminis cannot stand monotony, and pets require repetitive actions: feeding, care, cleaning, attention. Every day the same, and it is this same thing that becomes a point of internal conflict for Geminis. It is also important to understand, Gemini is a sign of communication, but with animals this contact does not bring them the level of intellectual stimulation that they crave. They need to talk, argue, joke, interact on a mental level. The pet cannot respond, maintain a dialogue, and after a while this leads to internal detachment. Communication with the animal becomes formal, dry, without emotional investment. And this is what makes coexistence painful for both. An animal requires not only love, but also stability. And stability is something that Gemini never has enough of. Their nature is to change, move, search. And while they are in an eternal search, the pet loses the feeling of home. Representatives of this sign feel best without restrictions. Freedom is their element, and an animal always entails a certain degree of responsibility that Gemini is not ready to bear in the long term. The second sign is Libra. Representatives of the Libra sign outwardly give the impression of harmonious, caring and sincere people, but in the matter of pets, their indecision and internal hesitation become a critical obstacle. Libra often idealizes the picture: a soft blanket, a fluffy cat, a cozy evening. However, the reality turns out to be completely different: dirt, wool, noise, the need for care. And then the internal imbalance begins to destroy their emotional equilibrium. Libra is a sign that reacts sharply to chaos, and any violation of visual order or rhythm of life leads to severe irritation. Libras tend to be dependent on external approval and comfort. It is important for them that the house is beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, and comfortable. A pet brings in an uncontrollable element: sudden barking, a scratched sofa, damaged things. Libra will remain silent for a long time, accumulating irritation, but at some point this will result in abandoning the animal. They may feel trapped. On the one hand, a feeling of guilt, on the other, the inability to cope with the violation of their comfort zone. And then an internal struggle begins, from which both they and the pet suffer. In addition, Libra does not cope well with decision-making in stressful situations. An animal's illness, the need to quickly solve problems, emergency trips to the vet, all this causes a stupor in them. They do not know how to quickly get involved in practical tasks, especially if they are emotionally charged. Animals require constant involvement, clear actions and self-control. Libras tend to postpone, doubt, and delegate responsibility to others. Libra's unwillingness to have animals is especially evident in the context of loneliness. They get a pet in the hope of filling an inner void, but quickly realize that contact with an animal is no substitute for a live dialogue. And then the pet becomes more of a background than a full-fledged participant in their lives. And the feeling of guilt for this eats away at him from the inside, worsening the emotional background and provoking detachment. Libras strive for balance, but a pet is an imbalance, especially in the first months. They are not ready for noise, smells, accidental damage to property and violation of rituals. They love beauty and order, but the animal does not adapt, it lives by its own rules. And this leads to tension, which they hide for a long time, but then cannot contain. That is why it is better for Libras not to have pets, not because of a lack of heart, but because of the impossibility of creating suitable conditions for a living creature. The third sign is Cancer. Cancer is a person for whom a home is a fortress, and emotions are a storm hidden behind tightly closed shutters. At first glance, it may seem that pets are exactly what a representative of this sign needs. Care, warmth, attention, rituals, all this corresponds to his internal structure. But it is precisely because of this structure that Cancer should categorically not have pets. And here's why. Cancer is an emotional knot that becomes attached to creatures more strongly than reason requires. He does not just care, he dissolves. He does not just feed and play. He begins to live through the animal, worry about it, see in it a reflection of all his internal traumas. This unconscious projection turns the animal into a hostage of Cancer's anxiety. Every sneeze of a cat, every failed movement of a dog, every molt is a reason for panic. Cancer runs to the vet, reads forums, does not sleep at night. He is unable to accept the naturalness of illness, old age, death, because for him, the pet becomes not a companion, but an extension of his childhood, motherhood or losses. In this hyperbolic relationship, he destroys not only himself, but also the animal. The pet lives under constant emotional pressure, feeling anxiety, instability and unconscious guilt for any manifestation of imperfection. Cancer is a hostage to his need to be needed, and the pet becomes a confirmation of this need for him. He does not let go, does not let go, does not give space. He controls, he exhausts with his care, and when the inevitable moment of farewell comes, his psyche collapses. Cancer does not lose a pet, he loses his meaning, and he cannot recover for a long time. Often forever. The house becomes empty not only physically, but also energetically. The trauma settles deep, and the next pet becomes not a joy, but a way to cement the pain. He does not replace, he continues. This emotional loop is destructive. No animal should be the object of psycho-emotional compensation, and it is almost impossible for Cancer to avoid this trap. Even if he promises himself not to get attached, he will. Even if he says, it will be easier, he will not. The natural empathy of this sign is a gift in human interaction, but a curse in animals. Pets need calm energy, and Cancer needs confirmation of love. This is incompatible, and until he learns to separate care from dependence, there should be no animals near him. None. No aquarium fish, no budgies, no hamsters. Because even a fish will become a living symbol of something personal for Cancer. He will cry if it is gone. He will blame himself if it freezes. He will look for signs in its behavior. And this is destructive. No living creature should bear the weight of someone else's mental instability. Cancer is better off switching his love to people, to therapy, to creativity. But not on pets. Never. The fourth sign is Aries. Aries is the sign of action, impulse, drive and freedom. His energy is unstoppable. His interests change at breakneck speed. His inner motor requires constant forward movement. And it is for this reason that Aries should categorically not have pets. Not because he is cruel or cold. Not at all. He can be incredibly generous, attentive, caring. But not for long. Aries cannot maintain a routine. A pet is not a flash, not a moment, not an achievement. It is an obligation, and Aries is not created for obligations that stretch out over time. He can enthusiastically choose a puppy, buy him 100 toys, build an aviary, read books on training. But after a month, that's it. He is bored. He is not interested in getting up at 6 a.m. to walk the dog. He is too lazy to vacuum the fur. He gets irritated if the pet is sick and needs to be taken to clinics. He gets irritated if the cat scratches the sofa. He feels caught, and nothing infuriates Aries more than the feeling of being restricted. The pet turns into shackles. And at this moment, irritation awakens in Aries, which he himself does not always understand. He can yell at the dog, ignore the cat, forget to feed the parrot. Not out of anger, but from an internal protest impulse. He does not want to be obligated. He does not know how to be obligated. Yes, someone will say, let Aries educate himself, learn responsibility. But the problem is that an animal is not an instrument for self-education. It is a living creature that suffers if ignored. And Aries ignores. As soon as the interest goes away, he stops noticing. He can go to another city and forget to give the keys to the apartment to a friend so that he can feed the cat. He may not notice that the pet has a fever. He may not hear a plaintive squeak. His attention jumps, and this is not corrected by education. This is nature. His brain is designed this way. He thinks quickly, acts quickly, and loses focus just as quickly. Any pet is a requirement to be here and now, every day. And Aries wants to be everywhere and at once. He cannot stand limitations. Even an aquarium is not for him. At first, he will excitedly start the system, clean the water, choose plants. And then, that's it. He will forget, it will become overgrown with algae, the fish will die. And he will say, I forgot. This is not cruelty, this is a mental peculiarity. Aries needs freedom, spontaneity, no schedules. And a pet is discipline, routine, affection. Everything that Aries runs from. And he runs fast. Therefore, no cats, dogs, turtles, parrots or even hamsters should fall into his hands. Because he can fall in love, but not keep this love. And for the pet, this will cost his life. The fifth sign is Virgo. Representatives of the Virgo sign always use logic above emotions. They are rational, practical and very demanding people. That is why having a pet often causes them stress rather than pleasure. Virgo strives for order, cleanliness, control over space. And an animal is a constant mess, fur, unpredictable behavior. It disrupts their system, creates chaos in the usual structure and makes them face imperfection every day. Virgo is a sign that focuses on details. And when a pet appears in the house, Virgo notices everything: the wrong bowl, the smell, the wrong consistency of food, dirt in the corner, scratches on the floor. This drives her crazy. She cannot simply enjoy the company of an animal. She is constantly correcting, checking, controlling. Constant tension does not allow her to relax. Instead of the joy of communication, irritation arises. Instead of affection, fatigue from the disturbed order. Moreover, Virgo is a perfectionist. She wants everything to be as it should be, on time, precisely, perfectly. But an animal is always a deviation. It disobeys, gets sick, behaves unpredictably. Virgo worries about every little thing, and her anxiety only increases. A pet requires flexibility, patience, and a willingness to be spontaneous. But for Virgo, everything is according to plan. And when the plan collapses, she loses internal control. Virgo often decides to get a pet under external pressure, to please loved ones, to give to children, to keep up with others. But this decision does not come from the heart, and quickly turns into tension. She takes care of it because it is necessary, and not because she feels a connection. And the animal feels this detachment and responds with anxiety. A vicious circle arises. The pet is capricious, Virgo gets angry, care becomes an obligation. Emotional distance is another reason why Virgo has a hard time dealing with animals. She does not allow herself to be strongly attached. She is afraid of loss, illness, aging. And, faced with these inevitable processes in the life of an animal, she closes in and distances herself. She cannot let go of the situation. She always tries to fix and control it. But with a living creature, this is impossible. A pet is chaos, emotions, fur, smells, spontaneity. Virgo is a system, calculation, regime, analysis. Their nature is opposite, and although Virgo is capable of caring, her path is in another form of service. She should not have a pet, because for her it is not joy, but a source of constant internal tension.